Good morning, Pelham Road. Well, today I'm going to start a story that's probably going to take me 2 days to tell the whole story. So bear with me, okay? I was called a heretic. Actually, I've been called that on more than one occasion. Now, a heretic is someone who has a religious opinion that differs with church dogma. In other words, the church has said the earth is the center of the universe. The scripture says so. And someone named Galileo comes along and says, no, I'm sorry, the sun is the center of the universe, and then proves it. And then the church, in spite of these facts, says to Galileo, you got to leave. You're a heretic. Now, I'm actually going to speak out of both sides of my mouth in this story. If I had a third side, I suppose I'd speak out of it as well. So I'm going to first defend the heretic, which I don't imagine is a popular opinion, but I'm going to do it anyway. The heretic is not wrong. They're just not willing to say what the church is already saying. Mostly, I suspect we might say that they're early. I mean, that's Galileo. He was not wrong himself. He just opposed the teaching of the church. And did you hear that? He didn't oppose the church. He opposed the teaching of the church. I mean, that's the thing. Except on the rare occasion, the heretic usually actually loves the church. They just take issue with one plank of the dogma or the doctrine, and they have to be true to their conviction. Now, I'm sort of burying the lead here, I know that. I bet you'd like to know who or why I was called a heretic. I don't remember the exact reason or issue, and people may have thought it a lot more than they've ever said it. But the last time that I do remember the when and the who, but I just don't remember the what it was about, really. It was a preacher, and it was in 2017. And if I had to speculate about what it was probably about drawing lines and saying that there were people that were on one side of that line, and then those people were in, and the people on the other side of the line, well, they were out. And I probably thought that was sort of mistaken thinking, so I suggested it could be otherwise, that there might be another way to look at things other than us versus them. Now, I didn't call him a heretic. Not because I'm nice, but because his belief is not my belief. But that does not mean it's not church dogma. But he had no problem calling me a heretic. I mean, I held a different opinion than his, and also mine was not outside of church dogma when you consider 2,000 years of church history. So, I really wasn't out of line any more than he was out of line. He just called me a heretic because I didn't believe what he believed. Further, both of us are Baptist, so we have no written creed, so how could any Baptist really be a heretic? Well, that's my digression, excuse me. I want to introduce you to the name of Michael Servetus. And Servetus, well, that means nothing to most of you, but to some of you, you know that name. He is remembered as the most well-rounded heretic ever. Catholics hated him, ran him out of France. Protestants hated him and burned him at the stake. Yet he was a devout believer. But his beliefs really did sound suspicious. I mean, in the 16th century, being Christian in the wrong way was not looked upon kindly. It was not a good time to have new ideas, especially ideas about God. At least not if you wanted to keep your head attached to your neck. I once saw a stained glass window of him, and it contained 2 painted symbols above him. First, there was this winged staff for his groundbreaking medical work. I mean, Servetus gave us the written account of pulmonary circulation, the flow of blood between the heart and the lungs. The second symbol in this stained glass window was a flame, representing exactly what you think. In the story of someone who made a lot of religious authorities very angry, and some angry enough to burn him. In a major theological debate, Servetus exchanged dozens of letters with John Calvin, then one of the most powerful Protestants in the world. It was not a cordial relationship, by which I mean each man called the other the Antichrist. So they weren't, having coffee together. In 1553, by the influence of Calvin, Servetus was captured and convicted of heresy. His offending book, ironically entitled The Restoration of Christianity, was chained to his leg, and together they were burned at the stake. Oddly, I think most of us would be divided on the charges brought against Servetus. First, he was charged with being anti-Trinity, believing, as the Jews did, that there is one God, not a Trinity. He got in trouble for saying Christ was the Son of the eternal God. However, what the church wanted him to say was Christ was the eternal Son of God. Same words, but rearranged with a different meaning. Now, the second charge that led him to be burned was his anti-infant baptism position. Unlike the Catholics and the Protestants of Calvin, he rejected the idea that infants needed to be baptized. In the suffering and sacrifice of those labeled as heretics, we see the quest to change religion. We likewise strive to make faith new and fresh, to discover timely expressions for timeless principles. The bridge to that future is often seen initially, truthfully. The bridge to that future is seen as heretical. The meaning of the word heretic comes from the Greek word herekos, meaning able to choose. A heretic isn't wicked. They're someone who disagrees with the religious views of the person calling them a heretic. The term heresy and orthodoxy, like winner and loser, are relational. Everyone is someone's heretic. And very often, the real issue at stake in religious conflict is not spiritual virtue, but you know it. It's control. As history is usually written by the victors, orthodoxy is written by denominations. So heretics are those who resist the powers that be, and they are the natural enemy of demagogues, who demand obedience above all else. And the story of Servetus challenges us to think. It challenges us to think. And so tomorrow, the rest of the story about him and John Calvin. See you tomorrow.